It's not working on my side. Okay, great.
Can people hear us talking?
Yes.
Okay, well, shut up.
Hello, welcome to our, for joining us today. We'll be waiting a few minutes to start, but thank you for joining us today. Okay, many thanks to folks for joining the Outdoor Future Initiative 101 webinar, Expanding Nature Access for All Youth. Today, we will be having ASL interpretation, as well as Spanish language interpretation. If you require Spanish language interpretation, we will provide instructions on how to do so.
Ok. Para los que nos acompañan y prefieren escuchar la sesión en español, una vez que termine yo de hablar y activen el servicio de interpretación, aparecerá un globo en el fondo derecho de su pantalla. Le pueden dar clic ahí y ahí pueden seleccionar el canal en español. Y también háganme el favor de seleccionar Mute Original Audio, porque así no tengo yo que escuchar doble lo que estoy escuchando. Mi nombre es Marcela Salmón y seré su intérprete el día de hoy.
Thank you so much. I'd like to remind folks that if you have a question today for our panelists or hosts, or a general question about the initiative, please use the Q&A box feature located on the bottom of the screen. We will have time for question and answers at the end of the webinar. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to our hosts.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Flores. I am the program coordinator for Latino Outdoors. Latino Outdoors is one of the, and also a founding member of Outdoor F.U.T.U.R.E initiative. So Latino Outdoors is about engaging Latinx communities in the outdoors and embracing cultura y familia as part of the outdoor narrative, ensuring our history, heritage, and leadership are valued and represented. Jason, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, hello. My name is Jason Swann. He, him. His are my pronouns. I am the founder of Rising Routes and one of the founding members of the Outdoor F.U.T.U.R.E initiative. I'm so glad to be here with you all. So Rising Routes is in the business of transformation, elevating diverse communities and partners to shape public action towards systemic change. And today we have Gabby with us. Laura, I'm gonna let you do the introduction, actually.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah. So just speaking of embracing culture and family, we have a beautiful young lady here with us today named Gabby Pena. She is an incredible 7th grader from southern New Mexico, Las Cruces. Gabby, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Gabby, I'd like to ask you a question. Can you tell me a little bit about your first time you fell in love with nature?
The first time I fell in love with nature was when I went camping in the Oregon mountains. I had found a trail that led to a pretty big rock, but once you're on that pretty big rock, you can see a whole bunch of things. Like you could see white sands, you could see mountains far off into the distance. And if you went at night, you could see all sorts of stars.
I love that. I really, really do love that. So, one of my favorite things, Gabby, is to sit under the stars and just see, with the fire obviously burning. It's like the perfect feeling. I want to know about that experience, how you felt when you were just in that moment. Tell me a little bit about that, or maybe even the preparation leading up to it, the excitement.
It felt really just exciting, honestly, because well, sometimes you could only go out when the sun was setting because you had to set up the tents, you had to start the fire, and it just felt really cool.
Sounds like a lot of preparation to see something so beautiful. That's awesome. Gavin, let me ask you another question. What has been one of your favorite moments in the outdoors?
My favorite moment in the outdoors, I think, was on my Yellowstone trip. So we were driving to Yellowstone like 10 hours every day, but once we got to the place that we were going to, it was beautiful because sometimes we even had to set up at night, but in the morning it was always a surprise to see what it looked like. It was always very pretty, and once we were in Yellowstone on a picnic, my mom was always afraid of bears, so every 5 minutes she would yell out bear check, and my little brother and little sister and me would always start looking around.
That sounds like such a fun memory to have, Gabby.
Yeah.
And beautiful experiences, right? Just waking up. So you're telling me you went to sleep and it was dark and you woke up and you got to see all of these beautiful features from the national parks.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you woke up? Was it just full of excitement?
Yeah, because especially on the Yellowstone trip, I always woke up earlier because I always wanted to see what it looked like. At one point, we were in the Tetons and we were in forests. I remember we went fishing at a lake on one of our campsites. It was really...
Gabby, I want to ask you, just that connection that you have to the outdoors and the land, being out there, it gives you, I would assume it gives you like this newfound appreciation to be able to do these type of things. How do you feel about you know, just your feeling of protecting it, your feeling of just wanting to, you know, cherish it and make sure that, you and your, because you have siblings, get to experience the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Because it's a fun way to just go out. Yeah, it's sorry. It is a fun way to go out, and when you're able to go camping, it's really amazing. And sometimes you don't even need the right gear. If you have a fire, a tent, and sleeping bags, or even a couple of blankets,
Mm,
it's always really fun.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Gabby, thank you so much for taking this time to speak with us and tell us about your experiences. It's really helped me inform some of the things that I do back here at home. And just thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabby.
Well, that brings us to me and you, Laura.
Yeah, how did Gabby's story make you think about you growing up? Were you also going outside and camping in the Tetons or Yellowstone, or what kind of outdoor experiences did you have, Jason?
Oh, Lord. I was telling you this before, like, growing up, some people call it the sticks, some people call it the backcountry, but, and some people call it the boondocks, but we call it the spit town from where I'm from. So I'm from Sparta, Georgia.
Love it.
And Sparta, Georgia is a small one light traffic town with less than about 2,000 people. So we grew up on the back roads, just deep in the forest, right? So we spent a lot of time, we were poor too. So it wasn't like we didn't go anywhere. So the outdoors in like our yard was our space to recreate. So, if it rained a lot, which it does in Georgia, we'll use the ditches to be our pool. We'll go down the road and go into abandoned shacks and just explore, ticks and fleas and all that stuff was just second nature, right? And then, just climbing the mountains and stuff. And it was great. I really, not mountains, what I'm talking about. We know mountains in where I was, but, and then I spent a lot of time on my grandfather's farm. And he was a sharecropper, and going through cornfields, seeing him, slaughter, pigs and chickens, and, and that was our meal for the night, so it was a very, I don't think I appreciated much, right? I don't think I appreciated much at that time, because it was just a way of life. And I say this, I end it here. I wasn't going to beautiful state parks. I wasn't going to national parks. I wasn't, getting those type of experiences because we didn't have the money to be able to get to it, right? And transportation to get there. So again, we stayed within our own house and the neighbors, and then every so often going down to my grandmother's house. But that was my experience. How about yours?
Jason, it sounds like you had the original farm to table, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome, right? Like if you only knew, like you said, you didn't appreciate it then, but surely appreciate it now.
Sure do.
We had similar upbringings, even coming from different states. So I want you to picture this. The year was 1993. We were living in undeveloped southwest side of Albuquerque. I don't know if any of you guys are Golden Girl fans, but picture this. To the north of us, we had open fields full of cows. And our yard was a pretty good size. We had, I'm the middle child of 5 girls, so I kind of lucked out. When I woke up in the morning, I had the option of going outside and playing, or staying inside and cleaning. I mean, which one would you choose?
Yeah, I'll get my
I went
butt whooped.
outside and I played.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we had this beautiful tree in our front yard, and I would climb that tree for hours. There was this little dip in this tree. We have a picture, me hugging the tree, but there was this dip in this tree that just fit my bottom perfect, right? I was going outside, and the things that I didn't realize that I was learning were pretty incredible. I was learning about the ecosystem. I was learning about why it was important to water, to to trim the tree. I was learning about the bugs that were climbing on it. I also was working on like critical thinking and creative thinking. I remember grabbing my dad's lunchbox and tying a rope at the end and creating a pulley so that way I
Nice.
could have lunch in the tree.
I love it.
Or taking his binoculars to pretend like I was like a spy, right? Or checking on the cows.
I think we would have been best friends. I really do. I mean, we would have just been up in that tree, just enjoying ourselves, having our best life.
Yeah, it was such an incredible experience, you know. And I don't know if you did this as a kid, but when you tied some string on the ends of cups, right? I'd always try to get my sister's attention, like, hello, 10-4, 10-4. But not knowing how important just being in that tree, climbing it, so the physical activity, the mental activity. I was always, my mom will always tell you this, that I was a very, very happy kid. And I attribute it to being outdoors.
And you're a very happy person now, which is great. You know what I mean? The joy, you know, that you even talk about being there, you know, that excitement that comes, and you can see it just through your interpretation of it.
Because I'm still getting outside.
That's right.
But the hard part, Jason, is that, you know, when you and I were growing up, we had a little more space. You know, we weren't hit by a pandemic. And so what I'd like to talk a little bit about is, you know, you and I both came from somewhat, well, you definitely a rural area. And I, you know, was kind of coming from up and coming city. And so I think about it now, and how do we provide access for our kids who are living in these cities, right? How are we going to make sure that our students who are spending maybe 5+ hours on the computer learning have that access to the outdoors? So on this slide, we have a pretty profound number, right? It's a pretty alarming number that 90% of our kids are spending their time inside. So how would you say that we could push to make sure that our kids, our youth, are getting outside?
You know, and it's very interesting because when, you know, with COVID, all this has been exacerbated, right? Now people are spending more time than ever doing what 200+ people right now are doing, which is watching us on Zoom, or is with our work, you know, on Zoom, or if it's, you know, particularly youth focusing on their school and having to be on Zoom or some form of a TV or screen. And that's just, you know, these nature-based experiences are more important than ever. And there's a lot of our youth that are, again, concentrated in urban areas where, you know, again, you have concrete playgrounds. They didn't have the playgrounds that I have. So again, trying to ensure that, you know, individuals get an opportunity to go outdoors. So, but there's a lot of gaps, you know, again, there's plenty of efforts that are bringing forth to create more parks. But there are still gaps that exist, you know. How do you get there? You know, is it welcoming, right? That's something that we talk about all the time.
Right.
How do you even know that these things exist? This is what we seek to try to change, and what we're trying to engage with the Outdoor F.U.T.U.R.E initiative and our initiative founders. So as you can see, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing when there's a group of people all of which I know from Greening Youth Foundation. I'm gonna call them all out, Laura. I'm calling them all out.
Do it.
Outdoor Afro, Greening Youth Foundation, Next 100, Nuestra Tierra Conservation Project, the American Indian College Fund, my organization, Rising Routes, the Native Woman Wilderness. Shout out to Jalen. The Continental Divide Trail Coalition. And obviously not going to forget our buddy Vasu over there at Inclusive Outdoors Project. Am I missing anyone? And the Next 100. We can't forget about Next 100. This
Latino
group,
Outdoors, Jason.
Latino Outdoors. I don't know, Jose's going to be like, what, Jason? But again, it's a beautiful thing to see us do this together, right? And we know what our communities need, and we're able to create these projects for us and do this together.
Thank you so much, Jason. And so our founding members came together and we created our fundamental truths. We're generally not the type of people who are reading off slides, but we felt that this was so important, and this is what really makes us stand out. You can bear with me or read them yourself. Our first fundamental truth is that outdoor equity is and looks different in every community. So we're talking about 75 million kids in the United States, and it is going to look different in every community. The lands managed and under the ownership of non-tribal governments, such as states and the federal government, known generally as public lands, are stolen homelands of the original Native people. We are not afraid to say that. Chronic historic and systematic inequities, such as racism, capitalism, and colonialism, have made access to the representation, meaningful participation, and quality experience to nature more challenging for racially and ethnically diverse communities, poor communities, disabled communities, and others. So we're coming together because we believe in these fundamental truths.
And, those fundamental truths, again, Laura, to go back, these are large scale problems that need large scale solutions, right?
Right.
We need long-term commitment from our federal and state governments to support this effort and this cultural change that we're initiating. And so we're calling, as the slide says, we're calling for the creation of a national outdoor equity fund that would provide this large scale long-term investments and programs to make sure and ensure that all youth across the nation, regardless of zip code or regardless of your income, have an opportunity to participate in the outdoors and enjoy the health, the peace, the equanimity. I love that word, the equanimity. The equanimity.
We all just say it.
Yeah, I mean, come on now, the equanimity of it.
Equanimity.
And the educational and the career building benefits of the outdoors. And yet, again, I think we talked about it. There are still challenges that currently persist right now that we need to be able to solve.
Jason, do you mind going into a little bit of these challenges that we face?
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm gonna speak from the heart from this because this is so true to me. So for those who don't know, I co-led the Outdoor Afro organization here with Taisha Adams. She's the Commissioner of Colorado Parks and Wildlife Outdoor Policy Director for Outdoor Afro. And shout out to Taisha Adams. Anyway, so so doing that for the last year has given me a newfound perspective on all the work, all the resources, all the negotiations that need to happen to make sure that youth get outdoors. I mean, we had one particular event where, from curating the event, from the securing transportation, from procuring like healthy snacks and lunches, and again, negotiation costs, right? Because these things are very expensive, and when you add it all together, oh my gosh, thousands and thousands of dollars. And if you don't have that support, it's almost impossible. And so many youth, so many families are dealing with those barriers. And I'm gonna stop there because I'm just saying this is the reason why we're here. It's worth overcoming because we know that the benefits in time outdoors have a very, very beneficial, components to it.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, Jason.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say, like, just as the slide says, it's just research confirms what we already know, right? Time spent outdoors is going to help, improve your mental health. It's going to help your experience outdoors, your social skills, your ability to reduce stress, enhance so many things, just relational wise. And then looking at the slide, although I don't typically always do that, but it provides that leadership and that, I think, that stepping stone to the protection, the next conservationists, right? The next stewards of the land.
Jason, you know what? Speaking from an educational standpoint too, like I said earlier, just the idea of critical thinking, right? The creative thinking, wanting to know more. Generally, when I take kids outside, they are so hands-on. They are asking questions nonstop. It's a completely different experience from being in a brick and mortar school, right? So being outside, they're just so much more curious. And like you said, that mental health is so important, especially today.
Oh, so much today.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the efforts that are being built around the Outdoor Equity Fund in New Mexico and also just in other states. So the idea of Outdoor Equity Fund is like spreading like wildfire. And for the reasons that Jason was saying, right? We know that California created an Outdoor Equity Fund and Colorado is interested in creating a similar program. Again, speaking from personal experience, I received the Outdoor Equity Fund with Latino Outdoors.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we were so excited, Jason. So I know that in New Mexico, 25,000 kids will be impacted by this Outdoor Equity Fund, over 25,000 kids. We have already gone on 4 different outings.
Right.
We've gone birding, we've gone on hikes. I know, right? And you wouldn't believe what parents are saying, what kids are saying, right? Like we have kids who are like, when's the next outing, Miss Flores? When are we going to go on this next birding adventure? Birding is not common. At least in my communities. And every time, we've done 2 birding outings and I asked every time, is this your first time? Yes. Is this your last time? No.
No.
So it's incredible, right? Because we want that passion to continue to be outdoors.
I gotta say just real quickly that you're so right. When I take someone outdoors, and I take them usually, so people who know me, when I take people outdoors, I'm usually taking them early in the morning, right? And
right.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry for everybody who I take. But they hate getting up. But once they get up and they see the sunrise and they see just, the birds chirping early in the morning, like there is something so special about that, so healing
right.
about that, that, it changes, it transforms you. It transforms you. That's all I can say. That's Go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to stop there for a minute. I'm thinking about it now and I'm getting like.
Couldn't agree more. Well, and then speaking of kids being inside, I even had one kid tell me like, if I stayed inside playing video games all day, my head would explode, right? Like this is a gamer kid who's realizing he needs to be outside.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So you're right. It's a healing experience.
It sure is.
So Jason, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What is the vision for our National Equity Fund? Can you give me some more information about that?
Well, I got a good idea, right? We all got a good idea what that is for our specific communities. But let me phone in a friend real quick because I got a friend up in D.C. and she's her name is Jessica Lawyer.
Oh, I know
And
Jessica.
you know Jessica?
I know her.
She hard to get to know, right? You know what I mean? A lot of people, she's hard to get in touch with. So I'm gonna bring her out just for this special moment so she can like give us a little. So let me call up my friend Jessica Lawyer. Okay, there she is.
Oh, hey, Uncle Joe, I'm getting another call. I gotta go actually talk about getting youth outside. Yeah, well, thanks for all you're doing around vaccines. But just a reminder, cancel student debt. We need to do it. But the next thing is we also need to get our kids outside. So I got to join my friends over here. But you have a wonderful day. Say hello to Jill for me. Thanks.
Jessica, thank you for reminding Uncle Joe.
We all have. There's so many issues happening today, and nothing is more important than investing in our youth. And so I'm so happy to be working with you all on this vision for a national outdoor equity fund. And let's be honest, folks think that all the magic happens in DC, but to be real, all the solutions to the problems that our communities face, they come from our communities. And so, it's been really exciting to watch all of the momentum that folks like Laura, you, and so many activists down in southern New Mexico have done to bring forward the New Mexico State Outdoor Equity Fund. There's so many folks over in California, my home state, who have done the same. And Jason, a little birdie told me that you're working on one down there in Colorado. So, it sounds like DC is up next in making sure that all youth all across the country have the ability to get outside. And so, this vision for a national outdoor equity fund, we need large, long-term investment. And the biggest people I know, the biggest pockets I know, other than maybe jobs or, others, is the US federal government.
Yes. Yeah.
And so investing in our youth and creating a national fund that would be supported by public investment, as well as private donations and private investment is what's really needed to support programs for Native and tribal youth, on reservations and Native youth to get outside onto, their traditional lands, not just on reservation lands. It's important for urban youth. I grew up in downtown Los Angeles. Closest park to me only had a ball field on it. But getting outside, I would stare up at the San Gabriel Mountains that were, just behind me in Los Angeles, and wishing that I could get up there. So I'm really excited to be supporting you all, and I know the impact that it could have on advancing racial equity, economic justice, social justice, justice for our communities with disabilities, really making sure that all communities, all youth, including LGBT youth and others, have an opportunity to experience all the benefits of the outdoors that you all have graciously outlined. And, we could do it. There are other federal grant programs that support investment in things like education, in other types of programs that invest in states, so that they can invest in their communities. And so, you know, I say, let's throw this big idea out there because, you know, it came from community, and if the community wants it, our public officials should answer that call. You know, and I think we got the right one. We've been working with Senator Heinrich of New Mexico, and he's pretty excited about this vision. And we have excitement in other parts of the federal government in this vision. And so let's build this outdoor future. An outdoor fund for underrepresented tribal, urban, and rural equity. Let's make sure that our youth now and for future generations, the next stewards of these lands, of this planet, of our communities, have the ability to access all of the parts of public lands. But, you know, we're one step closer. We'll be looking to introduce federal legislation to create an Outdoor Future Fund this summer, not later this year. But in order to get there, man, we're gonna need some help. So, you know, I'll stay here in DC and chum the waters of Congress, but I need your guys' help making sure that communities all across the country are ready to rally for this outdoor future.
Are you ready to rally, Jason?
I'm ready to rally.
Let's talk about how we can get everybody else ready to rally and how we can get them involved.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, you see the slide there. Be an outdoor future advocate. Let me say that again. Be an outdoor future advocate, an outdoor fund for underrepresented tribal, urban, and rural equity. And share why the outdoor equity youth recreation opportunities are important to you by hashtagging, you know, if you got Instagram, I'm sure we all do, or Facebook or Twitter, all the things. We are the outdoor future. And to learn more, visit our website, outdoorfuture.org/we-r.
Because we all are the outdoor future, including, you know, especially our youth. This Share Your Outdoor Equity is for youth and also for adults. So you can share your story about why the outdoors is important to you. If you have a child, if you're a teacher, have them share their videos as well. The second way you can get involved is support the Outdoor Future Initiative. So you can donate to the Outdoor Future Initiative to support our efforts to bring forward our outdoor equity across the country.
And lastly, you know, become a partner. We'll be hosting a partner call for nonprofits and businesses. There's a, what do you call that code, Laura?
The QR code.
I'm getting a little past my time, you know. But,
I got you, Jason.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Sometimes, you know, I'm still trying to catch up with TikTok. But yeah, so become a partner. And, you know, really, we want to see you there. We want to see everyone participate. All hands on deck, right, Laura? All hands on deck.
That's right.
And, you know, we can't do this without you. And again, the communities want it. So we want you to support it.
Absolutely. And that QR code will take you directly to the Outdoor Future website. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can look at the events. You can get to know our founders a little bit more. Send us some questions. Send us your videos, please. But like Jason said, we are all in this together.
So now we'd like to take some time to answer your questions that you might have. We want to remind you that you can submit your questions into the Q&R, so Q&A box below. And we have a few questions that have come in that we'll answer live here. So the first question actually comes from Alberto Lopez, who seems to be based in Oregon, because his question is, does Oregon have an outdoor equity fund? Jason, I might throw this one at you.
Oh yeah, I thought I was on mute. You know, for something, Oregon, that's a good question for me. If you're throwing that at me, I'm pretty sure and positive that they don't have an outdoor equity fund. Right now, it's New Mexico and California, and I believe North Carolina, which I am just hearing about just recently, which is very, very interesting. And then there's in the process of hopefully creating one here in Colorado. But again, a lot of the folks that are a part of the Outdoor F.U.T.U.R.E initiative, a lot of the founding members have worked on these initiatives in their home states. So I have a very good idea of, you know, how that process looks, and trying to replicate that in other states is something that we're hoping that we can be able to help with.
Great. I think that actually starts to answer a few other questions that folks have, which is about, you know, engaging in their state to start an outdoor equity fund. And so if you are interested in mobilizing your community and other leaders in your state to create a state outdoor equity fund, as Jason mentioned, we have plenty of leaders who are ready to help you. So please visit our website, sign up for our newsletter, or submit a question, and we'd be happy to find a time to connect with you and share the information that we know. It sounds like we do know that the state of Oregon has an outdoor recreation office, as well as school outdoor initiatives for school children, but it sounds like y'all are primed to take the next step and create a outdoor equity fund in your state. We have another question. So it says, how is Outdoor F.U.T.U.R.E working towards encouraging sustainability in order to protect public lands so individuals and youth can access public lands? So what would you say kind of we're doing both as organizations, or your organization, or as a collective?
Well, I can jump on that. I think we all are in the fight, right, to conserve and preserve our natural lands and resources. So, you know, I didn't mention, but I'm a land policy analyst. I work for Western Resource Advocates here in Colorado, and I work on equitable access to the open spaces, but also equitable access to decision making and to protect our land resources here in Colorado for natural wildlife protection and so forth. And so I think each of our organizations, either directly or indirectly, right, or certainly a part of that fight. And you know, it's a fight that, because we love the outdoors so much, that we feel passionate about partaking in. And so that's certainly a part of what we do.
Great. Thank you, Jason. And Laura, as a teacher educator, I'd like to send you this question, which is, what can schools and teachers in states like New Mexico do to support or take part in this?
So we're constantly posting events. We can send you the link to the Outdoor Equity Fund, and really, I think there's 15 organizations that received this this fund, and so they're constantly setting out invites to support it. If you want to donate your time, your expertise, your, or if you just want to bring your kids and bring yourself and learn a little bit more, that would help in supporting the Outdoor Equity Fund.
Great. I'd like to just add that if you're a teacher or a part of a school or institution all across the country, we invite you to look at our Outdoor Future We Are campaign and encourage your students to write stories about why the engaging in the outdoors is important to them, right? We have had the chance to listen to Gabby earlier today, and it is amazing to see the way in which the outdoors has supported her personal growth, as well as her love for not just the outdoors, but for her community. And so we do encourage you as a teacher, regardless of what state you're in, to engage young people around you and ask them questions like, why is the outdoors important to you? Or how can I make it easier to provide or create opportunities for you to get outside?
And Jessica, I'd like to also just add, the outdoors doesn't mean that we have to travel 50 miles away. We don't have to go to national parks. It could be just going into our school, our school soccer field, right? It could be exploring the foliage around you. It could be looking at the birds. Really, it doesn't have to be like a field trip that we have to take. I mean, it could be an in-school field trip.
Great, thank you. There's one question here, which I think is really important. Can you give some examples of the kinds of things that a potential National Outdoor Equity Fund could be used for? Anyone want to, I'll go back to that slide, but anyone want to speak to that vision?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you go, yeah, that slide tells it all, but just in general, some of the things that we touched on, is just transportation is a huge barrier, right? To get to places. It was funny because you were mentioning talking to the youth and like asking them questions. I had a field trip with Outdoor F.U.T.U.R.E. and I was talking to the youth and I just asked them a simple question. I would say, when was the last time that you've had a field trip or you've been to a national park or state park or just a field trip in just in the outdoors in general? And, you know, they told me we may have one trip a year. And I'm like, oh, you need more than that. We got to get you outdoors. We got to get you out there, you know? And so it just goes to show that, you know, and they mentioned that, you know, again, I mentioned before, the transportation costs are very costly, and with school budgets being cut and so forth is pretty difficult. So, Laura, I'm sure you can speak to a lot of this, but, you know, with the purchases of gear and equipment, and we talked about this before, it doesn't need to be a $500 pair of pants or shirts. Like, we get the misconception of what's portrayed in our media about what the outdoor wear should look like and how costly it should be. And, you know, we need to change that narrative as well. And maybe, Laura, you want to speak to maybe the programmatic costs and maybe the staff and guide, since you do a lot of work with Latino Outdoors.
Yeah, so a lot of our staff and guides, fortunately this year, have been volunteer-based, but that's not always the case, right? We do have to pay raft guides. We have to pay for the equipment. We have to pay, you know, how do we get families to the event? We offer them food. You know, that's a lot of, you know, the community building. So, you know, paying and also acknowledging that even if staffers want to do it for free, like, we do appreciate your time, right? We want to honor your time. But knowing that permits, when we do take our kids out, transportation is the biggest cost, along with permits and that purchase of gear and equipment.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you. I want to say thank you to Jason Swann with Rising Routes, Laura Flores with Latino Outdoors, but also all of the other founding partners and members of the Outdoor Future initiative that have been working tirelessly both on this initiative, but also for many, many years to engage communities, to meet them where they are, to, search for opportunities for partnership, and have found ways, even with little funding and means, to get youth outside and their communities. And so, I say, hey, if the states are doing it, then DC should be stepping up and creating a national outdoor equity fund, because our youth deserve it, our communities deserve it. And if this pandemic has demonstrated anything, it's that getting outside, having access to the outdoors is critically important to our communities, to our health, our collective ability to move forward, and we should invest in these spaces. So, I want to remind folks that this is only the beginning. We've begun these discussions with members of Congress, and we are working to ensure that when Senator Heinrich and others do launch the Outdoor Future Act bill, that there is wide support from members of Congress all across the country. And so we will be asking for your help. You each have the ability, the power to make this outdoor future possible. And so with that, we hope that you will join us, that you will join and believe in this vision and help us see it through for the youth of today and the youth of tomorrow. Thank you so much. A last reminder that this webinar has been recorded and will be made available online for review. And so another big thank you to Jessica and Leah, our American Sign Language interpreters, as well as Marisa, our Spanish language interpreters. The Outdoor Future should be accessible to all, and we are working to ensure that. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.